It was March 1984, and Sarah Mitchell was 3 months behind on rent. She was a single mother of 2 young children living in a small apartment in Louisville's West End. Her husband had left 2 years earlier, and she was working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. But it wasn't enough. The eviction notice had arrived that morning, giving her 30 days to pay $3,000 or lose her home. Sarah sat at her kitchen table that night, staring at the notice. Her daughter Emma was 7. Her son Marcus was 5. Where would they go if they lost this place? She had no family in Louisville, no savings, no options. That night, Sarah did something she rarely did. She got down on her knees in her small living room after the kids were asleep and prayed. A real, desperate prayer. She asked God for a miracle, just this once, just enough to keep her family together. 3 days later, something impossible happened. Sarah came home from her afternoon shift at the diner. In her mailbox was a white envelope with no return address. Inside was a money order for $3,000, exactly the amount she needed. There was no letter, no explanation, just the money order and a small note that said, "For your rent. You are not alone." Sarah stared at the envelope, convinced it was a mistake. But her apartment number was clearly written. Her name was spelled correctly, Sarah Mitchell. She took the money order to the bank the next day, terrified it was fake, but it was real. She paid her landlord that afternoon, her hands shaking. Sarah spent weeks trying to figure out who had sent it. She asked everyone she knew, her coworkers, her neighbors. Nobody knew anything. It was a complete mystery. Then, exactly 1 month later, another envelope arrived. $800, the exact amount of her monthly rent. The same handwriting, the same simple note. For your rent, you are not alone. Sarah couldn't believe it. Once was a miracle. Twice was impossible. She cried that day, overwhelmed with gratitude. She didn't know who they were, but she prayed for them every single night. The 3rd month, another envelope arrived, then a 4th, then a 5th. Every single month, without fail, exactly when rent was due, an envelope would appear with her rent inside. Sometimes a money order, sometimes cash, always the exact amount, always the same note. You are not alone. Sarah stopped trying to figure out who was sending the money after the first year. She just accepted it as a gift from God. She would hold each envelope to her chest and say a prayer of thanks. The money kept coming, month after month, year after year, 10 years total, 120 consecutive months. Sarah never missed a rent payment in that entire decade. During those 10 years, Sarah's life slowly improved. With the rent pressure gone, she could focus on her children and her career. She went to community college at night, studying to become a teacher. Her kids thrived in school. Emma became interested in science. Marcus loved reading. They were happy, stable, secure. Sarah never forgot her anonymous helper. She told her children about the miracle person who had saved their family. Emma and Marcus grew up believing in the goodness of strangers, in anonymous kindness, in miracles. In 1994, after 10 full years, the envelope stopped coming. Sarah received a final envelope with her rent money and a different note. You don't need me anymore. You are strong enough now. Stay blessed.
Sarah cried for 3 days, not because she still needed the money, but because she was losing her connection to this person who had carried her family through the hardest decade of her life. She wanted to thank them, but she had no way to reach them. By 1994, Sarah had become a teacher's aide. 2 years later, she became a full teacher at a Louisville elementary school. She specialized in helping children from low-income families, kids who reminded her of her own children. She never forgot what it felt like to be desperate and have someone save you. Sarah made it her mission to help struggling families. She bought school supplies for kids who couldn't afford them. She brought food to families she knew were hungry. She was paying forward the miracle someone had given her. The years passed. Sarah's children grew up. Emma became a nurse. Marcus became a social worker. Both went into helping professions, influenced by their mother's example. Sarah never learned who her helper was. She thought about them often. She prayed for them always. Then came June 3rd, 2016. Sarah was at home making dinner when she heard the news on television. Muhammad Ali had died. She watched the coverage with sadness, but no personal attachment. She'd never met him, never had any connection to him. Then the broadcast cut to funeral arrangements. They showed footage of Ali's work in Louisville over the years, his charity in the West End neighborhood in the 1980s and 1990s. One segment showed Ali visiting families in the West End. Then they showed footage from 1984, grainy and old, of Ali at a community center. In the background, barely visible, was Ali handing a white envelope to a woman facing away from the camera. Sarah recognized the jacket, her own hair, her own posture. It was her, from 1984, the year the envelope started. Sarah dropped the plate she was holding. It shattered on the floor, but she didn't notice. She was staring at the screen, her hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. "Oh my God," she whispered. She thought back to 1984. She had gone to that community center exactly once, in March, looking for resources. She remembered seeing Muhammad Ali, though she'd been too overwhelmed to approach him. She'd left after a few minutes, too ashamed to ask for help. But Ali had seen her. Somehow, he'd learned her situation, and for 10 years, without ever telling her, without ever asking for recognition, he'd made sure she and her children had a home. Sarah called her children immediately. They came over within an hour. Sarah showed them the footage, explained what she'd realized. They were stunned. "Mama," Emma said, tears in her eyes, "you've been praying for Muhammad Ali every night for 32 years?" Sarah nodded, unable to speak. They sat together crying, trying to process this revelation. The miracle that had shaped their entire lives had a name: Muhammad Ali. The most famous man in Louisville had quietly paid a stranger's rent for 10 years and never told anyone. Sarah made a decision. She had to go to the funeral. She had to be there. She had to honor the man who saved her family. Ali's funeral was held on June 10, 2016. Thousands attended: presidents, celebrities, dignitaries, and Sarah Mitchell, a 62-year-old elementary school teacher from the West End. Sarah sat in the public section, just one person in a crowd of thousands. She listened to the eulogies about Ali's greatness, but nobody mentioned her. Nobody knew her story. Because that was who Ali was. He helped people in complete silence. After the funeral, there was a memorial procession through Louisville. When it passed through the West End, Sarah was standing on the street with hundreds of others. As Ali's hearse passed, Sarah held up a sign she'd made. Simple, written in black marker on white poster board. "You paid my rent for 10 years. You saved my family. Thank you, Sarah Mitchell." She held up her sign, tears streaming down her face as Ali's procession passed. A photographer captured the image. Sarah holding her sign, tears on her face. The photo appeared in the newspaper the next day. The photo went viral. People wanted to know who Sarah Mitchell was. Local news tracked her down and asked to interview her. Sarah agreed.
She went on television and told everything: the eviction notice, the envelopes, the 10 years, never knowing who helped her, discovering the truth at Ali's funeral. She showed the news anchor one of the original envelopes with Allie's handwriting. "You are not alone." The story exploded. Within days, Sarah's story was being shared millions of times. People were crying watching her interview. But something else happened. Other people started coming forward with similar stories. A man said Allie had paid his mother's medical bills anonymously. A woman said Allie had paid for her son's college tuition. A veteran said Allie had bought him a car. One after another, people shared stories of Allie's anonymous generosity. There were dozens of stories, maybe hundreds. Allie had apparently spent decades helping people, always anonymously, never asking for recognition. Sarah appeared on national television. On one show, the host asked what she wanted people to know about Allie. Sarah said, "Muhammad Ali was famous for boxing, but the real Ali was the one nobody saw. The Ali who helped a nobody like me without wanting credit. He made me feel like I wasn't alone when I thought the world had forgotten me. He gave me hope when I had none, and he did it in a way that preserved my dignity. That's the greatest gift anyone can give." The interview clip was viewed over 50 million times. After the media attention died down, Sarah went back to teaching. But she made one change. She started a foundation called You Are Not Alone, the exact words Allie had written. The foundation helps struggling families in Louisville pay rent anonymously, the way Allie helped her. Sarah runs it the same way. Anonymous envelopes, simple notes, no fanfare, just help when people need it most. The foundation has helped over 300 families so far. Every envelope contains the same note: "For your rent, you are not alone." Some of those families will probably never know where the help came from. Some might discover the truth years later, the way Sarah did, but all of them will know someone cared when they needed it most. In 2018, Sarah was invited to speak at the Muhammad Ali Center in Louisville. She stood in front of hundreds and told her story. At the end, she said something that left everyone in tears. "Muhammad Ali never knew this, but after my daughter Emma became a nurse, she worked in a pediatric ward. One day, a little girl asked Emma why she became a nurse. Emma told her, 'Because when I was little, someone I never met saved my family, and I wanted to spend my life saving other people.' That little girl is now in nursing school because of what Emma said. That's 3 generations of people whose lives were changed by what Muhammad Ali did, and he never knew. He just did it because it was right." Sarah paused, looking at Ali's photo on the wall. "Mr. Ali, if you can hear me somehow, I want you to know, because of you, my daughter saves lives every day. Because of you, my son helps struggling families. Because of you, I became a teacher who helps kids who feel forgotten. Because of you, hundreds of families now have hope. You were not just a champion in the ring. You were a champion for people like me who had no champion. Thank you. We were not alone because of you." There was not a dry eye in the building. Today, Sarah is 70 years old and still teaching. She still runs the foundation. Every month, on the day her rent used to arrive, Sarah writes a check to her foundation, $800. She includes the same note: "You are not alone." Because that's what Ali taught her, that kindness doesn't need recognition, that the greatest impact often happens in silence, in small envelopes, in simple notes, in quiet moments when someone decides that another person's struggle matters. Muhammad Ali was the greatest in the ring, but for Sarah Mitchell and her family, he was something even greater. He was the anonymous miracle that saved them. He was the prayer answered. He was proof that someone was watching, someone cared, and someone decided to help. And he did it all while making sure Sarah never felt like charity. He made her feel like she mattered, like she was not alone. And that feeling carried her through 10 years of struggle and 45 years of life after that.
If this story of silent generosity and the power of anonymous kindness moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with someone who needs to know they are not alone, that miracles can be real, and that the greatest acts of charity are often the ones nobody ever knows about. Let us know in the comments if someone ever helped you anonymously. And don't forget to ring that notification bell for more incredible true stories about Muhammad Ali and other legends who changed lives one quiet act of kindness at a time.